Good afternoon. I can't see anybody, but I'm sure you're there. There you are. Hi, Melanie.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Dawn.
Hi.
Hi. We've got sunshine. And then it's like, right now I need to block out the sunshine because it affects the camera. I can see that with Dawn. I have that in my office at home when you've got the sun coming in and it says everything's dark and you look like a witness protection person.
Yeah. I'm actually in one of our hotels down by the beach, Costa La Couden Beach at the moment.
Oh, lovely.
It's lovely out here, yeah.
Good. Right. Well, I'm back from India. I saw tigers in the wild,
Wow.
stalking, walking past, looking at us close enough to just do a little leap and eat me up, but they didn't, thank goodness. And just looking at all the humans so disparagingly along the lines of, it's those two-legged things getting in the way again. Not scared of us in any way. And actually, when you see them, I mean, they're walking alongside the track that you're parked on. They're less than 2 meters away. You just become very aware of your own mortality doing that, to be honest. But it was beautiful, and India was great, and the food was great. Oh, love Indian food. So good introduction. And the Taj Mahal as well. I did the Taj Mahal. Brilliant. Definitely lived up to all the expectations. So definitely worth it if you've not been, or if you haven't been for a while. Just saying.
And is that an Indian scarf you're wearing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went a little bit mad. I think I bought 6 scarves when I was over there because they're all so beautiful and soft. And yes, I'm just working my way through them now for work. Yes. So yeah, we're back to one second. To employment law, and the team have done a brilliant work while I've been away, and I've come back in and I'm like, okay, so update me on everything that's going on. And there is so much going on, as always, hoping that it'll get Q over Easter, but who knows. The big thing, as always, which I'm sure both of you are up to speed on, is the statutory sick pay changes from the beginning of April, that everybody's entitled to statutory sick pay, no matter how much they earn. There's no waiting days. All of that should be in your payroll systems. Those should be automatically updating. So all you have to do is make sure you log that absence. So it's probably more a question of making sure that the line managers, the supervisors all know to flag up if somebody is sick, so it gets logged. Whereas if they weren't being paid, they might not have been quite so worried about it. That's the thing. What other change? I'm not sure there's many more changes coming in April. Actually, there's loads in October, of course. One of the things I heard, actually, I was doing GCMA online training this week, is that, and I need to investigate this because I've not found anything more about it so far, is that allegedly in Scotland, it's illegal to dismiss somebody for showing signs of poverty. And I'm like, that sounds unusual. I know Scotland isn't 100% the same as English employment law, but it's like 99% employment law, much more than, say, Northern Ireland. And I can't find any proof of that. But I thought it was an interesting concept that if somebody wasn't dressed, I don't know, appropriately, obviously would still have to be appropriately, but if they had maybe a hole in their stocking or something, and they say it's, well, because I can't afford new tights, it's like, would you dismiss them for that? I don't know that you would nowadays. So I'm actually going to go back to the person who raised it in the training and say, look, could you tell me the situation as to how you found out about this? Because I did find references that obviously you can't dismiss them over 2 years. It's like, well, then that's just the 2-year rule. That's not a poverty rule. So I'm not quite sure where that's come from because I've not heard it before. There's nothing online about it, nothing from the Scottish government, nothing at all. So it's just interesting that somebody was so confident that you definitely can't dismiss somebody for being poor, which seemed a strange reason to dismiss anybody anyway. Yeah. Have you two got any questions? Dawn.
Remind me, when is the 6-month thing coming in? Is it
1st of January?
January, yes, it is January.
Yes,
does that come into effect though for people that started 6 months prior?
Yes, so it applies immediately to all employees, no matter what length of service.
Yeah. From now or 6 months from the January? That's January 27?
Yes.
Yeah, January.
So on the 1st of January 27, everybody who's got more than 6 months service is automatically protected. So if they were at 6 months on the 2nd of January and you haven't dismissed them, they now are your problem and you've got to deal with them as if they had 2 years service.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. So that's why we've put into the handbooks now that it's from 6 months, because it's only just over 9 months until that comes into effect. And we need to get the supervisors, the line managers thinking 6 months to decide whether this person's good. I'm going to say we had a question. We've got an issue with the staff member today, and it's at 2 years and 1 month. They've suddenly realized this guy, sorry, it's not funny. I'm just like, it's just really clever. It's amazing how clever employees can be. Has been in a golf club, getting free food by logging the food on the system, getting the food delivered to him while he's working on the bar, and then going in as a manager, which he's allowed to do. He's not the manager, but he has that manager override, and then cancelling the food order so he doesn't get charged for the food, and then eating the food.
That's not uncommon. That is a common thing. It starts off with small items, so things like toast going through and it being voided off. It still sends it through to the kitchen. The food is then produced unless the person then actually goes into the kitchen, because it automatically sends it through. So that's not uncommon at all.
Yeah, exactly. And it's taken them over 2 years to work out that he's been doing that, which is a bit of a shame, unfortunately. So it doesn't matter whether it's 6 months and then they're yours, or whether it's 2 years and then they're yours. Whatever it is, there's always going to be somebody who's over that. But it's just we're trying to get people to focus on that 6 months now. It's like you need to decide in the first 6 months whether they're any good. You need to document those conversations. You just record them on your phone, in the AI app that will be on your phone because you download it. And then you've got the summary. You don't have to write anything up because that's always a faff. And then you've got it documented how they're performing so that you can make a decision. And if you decide to dismiss, you've covered off discrimination and any unfair dismissal. It's really straightforward.
Does anyone have any platforms that help with managing all of this? I mean, we use something called Maple by Flow for our online training, and they have another arm of appraisal management, so it's automatically prompting the managers, and there's a dashboard and there's a league table to making sure that they're compliant. It's an extra $2,000 a year for that add-on, and I just wondered if anyone else is using anything or can recommend anything.
I'm not aware of anything, to be honest. It usually is a more manual process, I think, in most of our clients.
I don't know, maybe because of this, people are hopping on that bandwagon for automation. And to be honest, when you've got 150 employees to look after, let's face it, I mean, we all know that everyone's really bad at doing the 1 week, the 1 month. They're all really bad at it. I've never known anyone to be fantastic at it. And now, and even just last week, I had the front office manager saying, so I've got to do so-and-so's review. I went, well, you're 2 days late. She's all automatically passed now. So, and you've only got 5 staff in your team. Yes. Really, you should have been on that. Yeah. But having something that automates it, and so apparently it sends it out to the member of staff. You've got your review, fill this in, make the appointment. Apparently it looks quite good, but
and that sounds brilliant as a first step, but it's always going to be the appointment's been made, but the manager's really busy, so they're going to move it for another 2 days or another week. Or actually, now I'm on holiday. It's making sure they're accountable as well, isn't it? So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
It's funny you say that. We're going through the same thing at the moment. I've got heads of department saying that there's too much admin. We're about to come into our slightly busier time of year, and we're trying to look at alternatives of how we can streamline what we do, whether it's payroll or induction, etc. And I'm trying to express to them that it doesn't just go away just because it's automated. There is still that manual intervention that needs to be completed. You still have to check the payroll. You still have to check timesheets. You still have to do the reviews. And I think they think that there's this magic solution that is automation. Yes. And unfortunately, we can probably try and reduce it by, I don't know, 25% if we can, but it's not going to remove it completely from them. And it's not going to be there to remind them to do it. And if they take into consideration days off, it's almost a sticking point at the moment. And I did express to them this week that just because we're going to look at changing it doesn't mean that you stop doing it, because you have to remember that those bits of paper keep us out of court. And that is the challenge. So the one thing that we are, just to kind of bridge a gap, and I don't know whether this would help, is to get DocuSigns. So trying to get our paperwork systems into a DocuSign sort format that can then be sent out to the employees to get them to sign and return it. So it kind of cuts the middleman out, but that doesn't still get away from your review still needs to take place, and your review has to be sat down and you have to fill in that bit of paper or record it. So if there is a magic solution, then tell Miss Dawn, I would love to help something that would help to reduce it.
Because what they really want is a sort of a drone following you around, like in the sci-fi films, filming everything the employee's done, evaluating it, and then giving the manager a list of things they've done well, things they haven't done well. And the manager then gives it to the employee. Employee says, okay, fine, I'll get better. And they're like, great, that's fantastic. It's like, no, that's never going to happen. Good try. I'm not sure the DocuSign. I mean, you don't have to get an employee to sign an annual review. If you issue it to them and say, with the read receipt and delivery receipt, and say, here is your review. Let me know if there's anything that you dispute or, in a nicer way, but you're not happy with. Fine. But otherwise, you don't have to get them to sign off on it.
No, this was for our front end induction process.
Oh, okay. Fine. Yeah, to check. Okay. Good. Nadia, what should we talk about?
I wanted to just add to that, that a good way to get managers, and Donna just hit me when you said she's only got 5 people in her team. She shouldn't have missed that. A good way to get managers to soon find a way to manage their admin accurately is to measure them on it. So when her appraisal is done, her appraisal should comment on the fact, well, actually, we feel there's a development area here because you are not, you did not do this. You missed this deadline with your staff. You did not submit this bit of paper. You did not, and a previous company that I worked for, where I worked as an in-house HR person, we really struggled. We had 6 monthly appraisals, and we really struggled to get managers to complete those appraisals, to get them done in time. And we had a really strict process and timeline. Like, we did them, there was an appraisal month twice a year. And in that month, you had to invite your employees, have the meeting with your employees, get the paperwork sorted out and submit it back to HR. And actually, the only way that we could really get managers to do it was to make it one of their KPIs for their bonuses. Then suddenly they found a way to make it work. So keep that in mind. You're saying to your managers that they need to keep their staff, they need to manage their staff. They need to be talking to their staff about things they're not doing. But are you forgetting to talk to them about the things that they're not doing with those staff members? It's a capability thing for them as well when they're not doing it right. So keep that in mind, and when you speak to them in their appraisals about it as well, just kind of reminding them that it is their job and that not doing it correctly is failing at their job. So the thing I wanted to talk about is a question I've had 3 times this week. So I thought I'd bring it up. This is usually, if you guys don't know, this is usually how I come up with whatever it is I'm going to talk to you about. I look at what I've had a sudden surge in questions about. And this is an interesting one that I've had 3 questions this week about it. And this is an employee that the employer, and they're all at golf clubs, by the way, thinks is too ill to work. And this person is not seeking medical advice, or they're not forthcoming with medical advice, or they don't want to attend doctor's appointments that's been set for them or whatever. And they're saying, I'm fine, I can work. So if you end up in this situation where you have an employee that is visibly unable to work due to a health situation. So I'm not talking about someone who comes to work drunk. I'm talking about someone who comes to work bent over, unable to stand up straight because they're riddled with pain, or someone that is being sick, or someone that is bleeding from some sort of wound. Like someone who is visibly you need to go home, you're not well enough to work. How do you handle that if that person tells you, no, I'm fine, I'm well enough to work? So the first thing, and I know we've told you this before, but asking an employee to provide proof that they are fit to work before they can return to work is not a thing. It's not a thing, okay? And the doctors are going to laugh them out of the surgery, or probably swear them out of the surgery, considering how busy GPs are, if they come in and ask for that. If a doctor thinks they're too unwell to work, they will sign them off. If they're not signed off, they're able to work, according to a doctor, okay? So there is no requirement. This thing doesn't exist to say to an employee, you need to prove that you are healthy enough to come back to work. If an employee tells you they're healthy enough to work, they are not visibly too unhealthy to be there, and they are not signed off sick, then you need to let them work. That doesn't mean you can't take steps. You should be taking steps with that employee. You should be having a return to work conversation to say, are you sure you're okay? What do you need? Is there any adjustments we can make for you this week? You seem like you don't feel quite so well yet. But if you're saying you're happy to work, is there anything that we need to change or adjust? I'm talking about really sort of short term, helping them cope in that sort of days when they come back to work or something situation. You can have a conversation with that. You can always have welfare conversations about it, but you can't stop an employee from working if they are not visibly really unwell, not a little bit unwell, not sniffly, like visibly, like really unable to be there. Or if it's a health and safety risk. So a few years ago, we had an employee who had cataracts and it was getting worse and he was waiting for his surgery. It was really quite a few years ago, actually. And he was a greenkeeper. And it had got to a point where his son had to start driving him to work because he couldn't drive to work by himself anymore. And then it became a health and safety issue because he couldn't be on the mowers, he couldn't be on a tractor, he couldn't use any sharp implements that he could stick in his own foot or hit someone next to him with or something like that. But he continues to say that he's absolutely healthy and he's fine to work. He just struggles a bit to see. And that he's waiting for surgery. There's no need for him to go to the GP. And they made some adjustments for him. And in the end, he had the surgery and he came back and he was fine. So, but yeah, if it's a health and safety reason why you're sending them home due to a health situation, that's also okay. So what do you do if you have someone who you are sending home every other week because they come to work and they're in a state where they can't work? Maybe their back is so bad that they can't stand up straight, for example. Or, we have another club where we have a case where someone has POTS. So she kind of collapses and passes out. And sometimes she has them a lot of time in a week, and it really affects her and that kind of thing. So if you have someone that you are regularly needing to send home because they are too unwell to work, that is when you then have a welfare conversation, and that conversation starts something along the lines of, this is the third time this month I've had to send you home because you are too unwell to work. Have you had medical advice? Then have that welfare chat. Talk to them about medical. And if they say they haven't, encourage them to get medical advice, and say to them, what adjustments can I make for you while you go and get that medical advice, so that we can understand how we can help you and how you can safely work. And encourage them, if you think that they need time off, to go and seek their GP and get signed off if they need time off. Because I am aware that sometimes you do have someone who isn't well enough to work, who works because they can't afford not to. You're always going to have that. You're always going to have that. And you can't make them. You just have to encourage them to go and get the medical advice, and you need to have the welfare conversation. Now, what one of the employers said to me this week is, but am I not doing so? This specific employee has really bad spine issues, so back and neck issues, bulging discs and things, and he insists on working. And they're saying to me, but am I not putting the business at risk of a claim by allowing him to work, and therefore making his condition worse by being here? And the answer is no, as long as you have taken all the steps that you need to take as an employer, as long as you've encouraged them to get medical advice, you've offered support, you've had the conversation about adjustments, you've had the conversation about support, you've sent them home when they came to work and it looked like it was unsafe for them to work, or they were visibly unable to work. You've offered occupational health, or you asked for occupational health consent. When you've ticked all of those boxes as an employer, you have fulfilled your obligation. That employee is still telling you that they're fine to be here and they're not a health and safety risk in being there. Then if they then do something at work that makes their back worse, you've taken the steps you need to take. You could even do a risk assessment if it's relevant, but then you fulfilled your obligation. It is not your job to stop an employee who absolutely tells you they can work from working so that they don't make their condition worse. Carolyne, do you agree with that sort of view of it? Yeah. So I wanted to kind of brief you guys on that. You might not have something like that going on right now, but it is useful to know, if you ever do, where you sort of stand with that kind of thing. Do you guys have any questions about that or anything else?
Got a quick question about the recruitment process. I think we've made some errors in the past about how capable our individuals are at their maths and English. Right. And it's now appearing that there are some challenges with this. And we're looking at introducing an interview questionnaire which covers off a couple of basic bits of information. Yeah. Have you got a template or something that I could use as a starting point, or shall we just create something ourselves?
So which bit of the template are you saying? Have you got these qualifications, or what's one plus one equals?
We're having some staff that are having difficulties with payroll and timesheets and adding it up and making sure it's correct on submission.
But not people who are in the payroll department who are having difficulties. I'm just checking.
No, these are frontline guys.
Right. Okay.
So it's come up that we need to go down this automated process to make their lives a bit easier. And they're not. So we've had that conversation. I've then walked away and gone, hang on a second, maybe the issue isn't necessarily at the point of completing payroll. And I'm all for helping and supporting the staff who have difficulties, but actually maybe the issue is actually at our point of recruitment that we're not vetting them properly and not making sure that they have the relevant qualifications where they can write, they can read, and they can add up. So we wanted to just put another layer in, not just for F&B, but for all departments, because if they can't add up, if I'm just using this one example, if they can't add up a timesheet, then we're weights and measures in the bar, we're chemical usage and for spraying equipment and greenkeeping, and the same in the kitchen. We need to make sure that they are at that starting point able to do the basics that we need them to do.
Okay, so sorry, I'm not trying to be difficult, but do you ask them for copies of their GCSE maths and English certificates?
No, we don't.
Do you even ask them whether they've got GCSE?
Yeah, so they will have it on their CV. So they'll have it on their CV. But actually, when they then, some of the handwriting is absolutely shocking that we have to do.
Well, that handwriting is not English, is it? I'm just saying.
No,
that's a whole different.
It is important to their role.
Yes, no, I know, but they don't. Okay, so I absolutely get you. Yes, I have seen shocking handwriting, absolutely. But that's not what an English qualification is going to test, the handwriting, other than can they read it enough to pass their GCSE. Okay, so
but if they filled a form in, we would be able to identify at the start what their handwriting was like.
How key is it that they be able to write neatly?
So again, we've talked about this. So if they're taking orders at tables, again, we are not automated. We are pen and paper. They are having to take bookings, which is a telephone call and writing a telephone number and a name and contact details in a file. And some of them can't do that. So we can adjust some of them. So if they want to do desserts and take the desserts at the table on a carvery, we can do a form and they can tick boxes. But there are other elements that they need to be able to write, and they need to be able to write the time down. They need to be able to fill in their timesheets. They need to know what 25 mil is or 50 mil, although it's marked. They need to know what a double and a single is. If they can't add up, then. So
yes,
we're thinking about putting that layer in at interview.
Yes, I agree.
Everyone.
Yes, exactly. Although some of that would be training, obviously, but it's better if you can get people on board who you don't have to do that training for. Absolutely. Yes. No, absolutely. I mean, you could do that. One, I would ask people to actually bring their GCSE certificates to an interview if you get to that stage, and just take a photocopy of them. Okay. So, because people do put creative things, and they know that if they don't put GCSE English and maths on, they're not going to get an interview, I would assume. And then part of the interview is these tests, and we're a great fan of tests. Whatever they have to do in the job, not obviously arbitrary stuff. So you wouldn't ask for F&B to do something with, chemicals in the green steam. No. But it's like, okay, can you write, I'm going to tell you an order, I'm going to ring you up and give you an order. Can you please write that down? Yes. That would be one way of doing it. It seems, I absolutely understand your pain. I'm just thinking it just feels a teeny bit unfair. And I'm not legally unfair, just unfair to penalise somebody for bad handwriting, unless they can actually translate that into this is the information, and they write it in capitals after they've taken it down initially, because they scribble it down initially. That's fine. But now you need to give me the actual tidy, even if it's all capitals. I can cope with all capitals, but I need to be able to read it, and they can't. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh. So they've listened to the person, they've written it down, and they've gone, I don't know what this says.
Yeah. Or I've said, when I've got a message or a number, I've asked them to read it to me. They can't read it back to me what they've written down.
They can't. Okay, that's it. Yeah. Okay, so I would do that. I would say, right, I don't know, I would get somebody else in, because they're obviously used to, they need somebody else's voice. It's like, this person is now going to ring you and give you a message. I want you to take that message and then read it out to me at the end of the interview, not immediately, because they might still have it in their head, but they write it down and go, right, and then 10 minutes later say, okay, what did Bob tell you? And they go, oh, I don't know. That's quite clear.
But we can be just sensibly creative in You know, a man comes to the bar and orders 2 pints at £5.
Well, you don't need to do that, can't you? You wouldn't need to know that. You just put in 2 pints, whatever that is on the till. Surely it's not. You haven't got one of the really old-fashioned ones where you have to put 5
No, but when the system goes down, they have to write it down. So when we crash, they have to manually write it down and what the item is and how much it is. They have to look at a manual price list. That's £3.40 plus £5. They have to write that down.
And then put it on the calculator on their phone, surely.
Yes.
Okay.
But that is a challenge for. I can name 3 members of bar staff who have that as a challenge. Yeah.
Okay.
So hence, we're trying not to get into having a whole team of people who have this challenge.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll do what you said. We'll do the scenario.
Try that and see what happens. Yeah.
A little bit of maths, a little bit of situational kind of.
Yeah.
And we'll see where we go on that. Okay.
Yeah. And obviously, sorry, Nadia.
No, I just want to.
You disagree?
No, I don't. I don't disagree. Although I have horrible handwriting, I can write nicely when I need to. I can't always read my own scribbles, but
I think that's maybe where the difference is. They can't read their own handwriting either, so and they can't write neatly, whereas you can if you applied yourself. Right,
I can if I have to. Yes,
we can apply ourselves.
Yeah, if I could be bothered to. What I do want to say is I just think you need to be careful when you then turn those people down in what you say. Because there are learning difficulties and things that could be considered disabilities.
Yeah,
that could result in these that these things are probably the symptoms of, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm all over that. That's fine.
Yeah. So when you then say you didn't get the job, maybe just be careful in saying you didn't get the job because you can't read your own handwriting, or you didn't get the job because you couldn't count up 3 pints. We just be mindful of these things when you give the feedback as to why someone didn't get the job. Yeah.
And can
thank you absolutely
put in the adverts about good basic English and maths?
You can put it in the criteria, can't you?
Yeah, you say you must have GCSE maths and English, full stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's not a problem, but it's then actually how much do they use? How much? Yeah. And I'm all for using automation, so they don't have to write. But let's be clear, they don't actually have to write clearly. What they have to be able to do is to effectively give the information on to whoever needs it. So if that means they're doing a phone call and then they record it as a voice note afterwards, and that is then sent to whoever it is, surely that would be a reasonable adaptation of it. And it would get around the learning difficulties / dyslexia, anything like that, because we've got that. It's easier for those of us who are good at writing, absolutely, to have a handwritten note or a note and da-da-da. But actually, if we've got a voice, once we've got the correct information, does it matter what form it's in? I don't know. It's just something to consider. If you've got somebody who's really good other than that, you obviously don't want to lose them just because of that, and then thinking of other ways of dealing with it.
Yeah, I've been doing for the timesheets. I've sat down already and done the clock faces and what time they start and what time they finish. So I'm trying to coach and help them through to be able to work out what the timing is, because they can't do that. But I'll carry on doing. I'm
going to say I really hate that. Surely you've got a macro, a formula in the thing. So you've got a spreadsheet, yes. An actual spreadsheet, not a printed spreadsheet, an actual online spreadsheet that you put it in, and then it says that means you've been there for 6 hours and 25 minutes.
Yeah, which is why we're looking at automating it. So to make it easier so that we're not spending so much time adding up and checking timesheets.
Okay,
yes.
So what you're saying is you still have printed out a file of printed out empty timesheets, and someone takes the timesheet and then fills it in pen and counts it up in terms of hours.
Yes.
Mal, you're always going to have problems even if someone can count.
Mel, how many staff do you have in your place?
It's only about 50, so it's relatively small.
Yeah, we use Harry, which does our recruitment, onboarding and timesheets, and they've got also a payroll department. It's quite a good system.
Yeah. So if I could have the details of that would be brilliant.
Yeah.
So
there are for small businesses, there are, online clocking in and clocking out kind of software available where someone clocks in on their phone when they arrive and they clock out. And it's just, I don't have any details of them, but I know they're around.
Yeah, I've seen some of the old cleaning contractors used to do that. They only are proximity based, aren't they? So you can only clock in when you're within, 10 yards of the building, and you clock out accordingly. But you'll still have the issue of people not clocking out at the right time. But that's minor compared to what we're having to deal with at the moment.
Yeah, because you've got the double problem here. You've not just got the problem of them forgetting to fill in their timesheets. You've also got the problem of when they do it, they don't know how to add up their timesheets. So at least if you had a clocking in and clocking out online on your phone thing, then at least you're removing that part, that when they're clocking in and clocking out, at least it will do the calculation and provide you with the right information.
Yeah. Well, when I started, there wasn't anything. So,
it was just like,
what hours do you think you worked?
I think they worked about 20 hours. We'll pay them for that.
Yeah, that's right. That was exactly it. But yeah, so it's trying to move away from admin.
That are like that.
Okay, so we'll have a look at that as well and see if we can find anything to send to you, Mel. But yeah, there wouldn't be an expectation of staff being able to add up their hours and do that correctly and to do that easily. That would, I'm going to say, because of the amount of software out there that does that for you automatically, everybody has problem with that. Even if they've got a PhD in maths, they don't want to be doing hours and minutes and working it out. It's just not a fun thing to do. So I don't think that's a problem with their maths particularly. But there are other things. There's the full automation thing. And I think there's probably some websites, because there's a website for everything, isn't there? A website where you can add up time. And it could be a question of, right, they put that in there. They can then go and use that in the interim and say, right, if I'm working from then till then, that's that many hours. They don't need to know how to calculate. They just put their start time and end time in, and it will spit it out. Without it being a fully automated system, it is something that will make it easier for them. And that might make it quicker in the interim while you're looking for a more automated system as well, just to speed up the process. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Well, lots of questions. That's really good. We're going to go and deal with all the issues that are in the inbox. Looking forward to 4 days off over Easter. I can't wait for my next holiday. Should I ever be allowed to take another holiday? I don't know that I am. I'm going to say no. The team did. I think the team did better without me. I think I should definitely permanently be on holiday in the rest of the world, to be honest. Maybe the Caribbean. There's not many wars in the Caribbean, are there? So, well, I'm not going to Haiti, but I'm just saying there are lots of lovely places I could go to. And the team did so well. And we got 5 new clients while I was away for 3 weeks. So obviously, the key thing is me not to be in the country, and then it's all good. And then fantastic. Anyway, have a lovely weekend, and we'll speak to you next week. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you want a free peace of mind call with us to discuss your policies, handbook, and any burning staff issues in your business, click the link in the description below.